as I was getting ready to, well, as I hit record, and a natural smile just took over my face, and that smile turned into a laugh. I was talking to a friend yesterday, Swivey. Swivey is a listener turned friend. He's part of Patreon. Talked to him yesterday. I'm going to speak to his students. He's a principal. And he said, yeah, I was telling a friend to watch you. I was telling a friend. And my buddy was like, wow, he sure is something interesting in the morning, huh? And then my buddy Swivey said, yeah, just take it for what it is. Just take it for what it is. So that's what I'm saying. Take it for what it is. Marissa, great to see you. Paul Toast, great to see you. 2 patrons on the Patreon. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Paul. We'll be giving away some cool Christmas swag here coming up soon. Just went for a run, and it's cold down here in my office. It is warm outside, though. It is unseasonably warm outside, and it felt pretty good to go for a run, except right here. In my lungs, in my heart, it hurt really bad. But, you know, whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's get settled here to jump into AMXbooks 640 from the book Meat Eater by one Stephen Ranella, professional hunter, outdoorsman, conservationist, cook, author, chef, thinker, philosopher, dreamer, doer, all of the above. Let me share this quick, and then we're going to dive into today's episode. Really cool episode came out yesterday. Marissa, because you're an athlete, I think you're going to appreciate my interview yesterday if you haven't already listened to it. It chronicles Aaron Cafaro. Aaron Cafaro was a gold medal Olympic rower in the 8 and 12 Olympics. Fascinating story. High level women's athletics, just fascinating. Not, to be honest, we didn't really talk about, we talked about rowing in sports, but just the mentality, mindset, stuff we all deal with. Anyway, that came out yesterday. Marissa, seeing your name here made me think she's really going to enjoy that one. So if you haven't listened to it already, everyone else will enjoy it as well. But Marissa, I know what you're into, and I think you'll enjoy that one. All right, so let us get ready to go. 1, 2, 3. Let's do this. Everything's plugged in? Yeah. Okay. Ready? Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the Spaniard Show. This is the Spaniard. You know, I'm sitting here in my basement office, unfinished, cold concrete floor. It's raining outside. I just got in from a run. My lungs are still burning. I sat down and I thought of a quote. I thought of a quote that I used to have plastered on my wall when I was a kid. Any young wrestler out there knows the man, Dan Gable. A lot of non-wrestlers know the man, Dan Gable. But there's a quote of his that I remember since the time I was a kid. And when I sat down this morning, I thought that as I was wheezing and my heart was burning and my lungs were burning, I thought of gold medals aren't really made of gold. They're made of sweat, determination, and a hard-to-find alloy called guts. That's it, my friends. That is what gold medals are made of. Let's dive into the book Meat Eater by our friend Stephen Ranella, who's a professional hunter, author, outdoorsman, conservationist, chef, author, if I didn't already say that, philosopher, doer, dreamer, and also a guy with heroes. I have a lot of heroes, and I try to be like my heroes. He did too from the time he was a kid, and it led him into who and what he is today. So let's start out talking about origins. Like I said, this book is about hunting. It's about the outdoors. It's about the natural world. It's about connecting to the food you eat. Can be a controversial topic. I'm not interested in picking out the controversy here and there. Rather, telling you what I enjoy about him and encouraging him as a resource for you if you find this stuff interesting. So let's talk about origins. The older I get, the more I watch my kids grow, the more I realize that, wow, those kids came from me. Those kids came from my wife. Those kids are in my care. It's up to me to help them grow, to feed them, to change them, to bathe them, to teach them, to expose them, to protect them. All of these things. That's all part of origin. Like, why are you the way you are? Why do we do the things we do? Why do we sit and walk and think about the things we sit and walk and think about? And then you look back and you observe your parents or your parents' parents and where you came from and your school and your friends and your upbringing and your influences and the things you were exposed to. And it all starts to make sense. Like, you can deduce why you are the way you are. So in regard to origins, I've become more and more interested in this, in the anthropology and human evolution and civilizations and how weapons evolve, how communications evolve. Regarding origins, quote from the book Meat Eater, hunting stories are the oldest and most widespread form of story on earth. This is taking me back to a time, right? This adventurous, this awe and wonder at the natural world, going westward in the United States or wherever in the world, exploring, right? This exploration, this feeling. Did you know, and I got these facts from the book, that wolves often smell each other upon greeting because they're telling a kind of story. In the book, he goes on to explain like this idea of when they greet, they exchange breaths so they can tell the history of their hunt, right? Where they were, what they hunt, if they killed something, what it was. And also he talks about this idea of a human kiss, maybe having something to do with those lines as well. And that got me thinking, all right, so none of these are steadfast. You know, as you read, you're exposed to a lot of things, all right? Religions, we're exposed to a lot of religion. You pick what works for you and you go with it. Same thing with hunting, the origins of people, where we started, how we started, so many different thoughts and beliefs, but I love the exposure to these ideas. Did you know that a human kiss might have originated by that same token, kind of like sniffing each other out, finding what's what? The idea of a handshake, the origin of a handshake, possibly being to show that neither of us are concealing a weapon, kind of like a show of honesty or a show of honor, a show of I'm not going to try to kill you, you're not going to try to kill me. And I find this fascinating. If you remember when I read about Jordan Peterson in the 12 Rules for Life, he talked about how lobsters, right, this dominance hierarchy in lobsters, and how there's these rounds that they fight, right? So if I'm gonna, all right, I'm a fighter, I'm a UFC fighter. We go ready, fight, boom. I try and knock you out, you try and knock me out. We're done. But lobsters in this dominance hierarchy, they understand the risks involved. So there's different levels of fight because they know, hey, if we just go all out, I may kill you, but you may fatally wound me, and I'm going to get killed by someone else later. So they have this dance that they do until they get to a point where one of them either backs down or they decide, hey, we're all in, we're going after it. The idea with wolves, right? They were talking about wolves fighting, and once one wolf becomes the dominant wolf and might have the other one on the back all laid out, they don't kill him because they understand, hey, I'm going to need you in my pack to hunt something later. So if I kill you now, I'm down a hunter. All of these things I find absolutely fascinating. He goes on to talk about the evolution of language. It's just whether it's through Steve Rinella, there's another book, I believe it's called The Social Leap. The guy was on Joe Rogan's podcast. I have that in my queue as well. Start to learn about who we are, where we came from, and why we are the way we are. I encourage that. I'm not going to tell you to do it, but I can tell you that it has added levels and value to my life. Another thing that I like about Rinella, he says, quote, this book uses the ancient art of the hunting story to answer the questions of why I hunt, who I am as a hunter, and what hunting means to me. Look, whether you agree, whether you eat meat, you don't eat meat, you hunt, you kill animals, you don't kill animals, you follow the rules, you don't follow the rules, you're religious, you're not religious. The important thing here is the idea of listening. Okay, you see a lot of talking heads, you see a lot of anger, a lot of frustration because we'll get into that issue later. But what I want to get across here is the idea of listening, right? Hear his explanation. I agree with a lot of what Rinella says. You may not, but listen. Try to understand. That's empathy, right? Empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes, understanding how they feel and why they feel that way. It goes down the importance of communication. And even Rinella, who's a professional hunter and outdoorsman and conservationist, pro hunter, eats meat, all this other stuff, even he battles with ethics and morals. Even when you say, I believe in this, it's not black and white after that. There's a lot of leeway. There's a lot of situations. There's a lot of predicaments that he's put in. I was listening to Rogan's podcast yesterday, a guy named Ben O'Brien, where they're talking about a wounded animal comes by. It's not the trophy you want, but it will take your tag. Are you going to kill it? So that's a moral conundrum that you're going to find yourself in. So it's not an all or nothing, right? We read the book, The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko and Leif. That's kind of what this is here. It's dichotomies exist. These conundrums exist. This constant evolution of your moral code and your moral ethics. It's a dynamic, ever-evolving thing. And last thing I want to point out here, he's talking about hunting in Alaska, the north slopes of Alaska's Brooks Range. He talks about that a lot. It's near the Arctic Ocean. And he talks about this. He says, quote, as my toes got numb in the cold air, I found myself longing for the warmer weather of August. But I reminded myself that warmer weather comes at a cost in the Arctic. And he goes on to talk about the mosquitoes, the black flies, other types of flies, the uncomfortability. And that struck out as me as negotiable. Everything in life is negotiable. Success is negotiable. This idea that, hey, yeah, maybe I could get warmth, but along with that warmth is going to come a lot of bugs and uncomfortability. So it really brought out this reminder that success is negotiable, life is negotiable, but you've got to figure out what it is that you want. The thing I love about Ranella is that he's always figuring that out, right? Figuring out where he sits. Same deal. You want these things, right? I want these things. You can have them, but it's negotiable. If you listen to my interview with Erin Cafaro, which came out Thursday, yesterday, she talks about being the best in the world, but you got to sacrifice. You got to give up everything else. That there is a deal you've got to make with yourself. This is AMX Books 640. Catch AMX Books Monday through Friday, AMX Kids on Tuesdays, AMX Talks on Thursdays, AMX Weekly on Fridays. Subscribe to the Spaniard Show. If you'd like to help the support for as little as $1 a month, check out patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. Dread. It's hard. You're a special dude, Dread. The ability, you are, I don't even know what you are. The ability to come up with those jokes. If you're not watching on Facebook Live, I'm referring to Dread. Dread is my Mr. Miyagi, and these zingers, they're good. Reminder, folks, I'll be back. Well, AMX Weekly comes out tomorrow and Saturday. AMX Books, you know the routine. Subscribe to the Spaniard Show on iTunes. And all my books are on my website. Speaking programs on my website, charliespaniard.com. That's it. We're growing little by little by little. Limousine in 2018 is about to end. Where are we going with 2019? I got to figure it out. I'll see you tomorrow on AMX Weekly, Monday on AMX Books. See you.